Former RNC chair Michael Steele joins us here on Radio Row at the Democratic National Convention.
Yeah, a little out of place, but I'm loving it.
You know, my first convention was the Democratic Convention in 2004 in Boston, which was followed by the Republican Convention in New York at Madison Square Garden. And one of the things I was intrigued about, that you guys credential each other.
Yeah. No, look, there are a number of well-known Republicans that are here playing a multiplicity of roles, some on the media side, some on the op-ed side. They're just kind of doing the opposition research, and sort of whatever's happening here, they kind of turn around and spin on it. And so it's nice. I mean, and we saw the same thing in Cleveland last week. I ran into a lot of Democrats. I was like, what are you doing here? And they just kind of laugh about it.
Well, it's tradecraft for guys. For
exactly.
Well, let's get down to what's really going on in the two parties. And we just came from Cleveland last week, and
right.
Here we are. And the number of parallels are really fascinating to me. We had some dissension and some unhappiness at the convention in Cleveland. The Ted Cruz non-endorsement on Tuesday night angered a lot of people, and he faced a lot of backlash from that the following morning. We have a more or less parallel situation with the Sanders supporters here.
Right.
I've never seen this sort of thing before. Have you?
No, I haven't. And it really speaks to what I've been saying for a while, this underlying current of frustration that exists out there among Democrat and Republican rank-and-file voters, activists, who feel that both institutions as political institutions have let them down. And they've taken the measure of deciding who they want to support, raising their voice on various issues, particularly as we've seen on the Democratic side, the very progressive argument that they've made on income inequality and minimum wage and health care and a bunch of other issues. So this dynamic is not over. I mean, people think that when these conventions are done and the presidential cycle is over, we're kind of go back to normal. No, this landscape has been politically and I think permanently reshaped for some time and for a long time to come. And, Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders are the architects of that.
You are, by nature of your experience and nature of your resume, are a political clinician. You look at things clinically and try to look at them objectively. I think every expert in this field has been perplexed at what's going on and has made a lot of bad calls. But the pluses and minuses on both sides. The pluses and minuses for Trump's campaign, the pluses and minuses for Hillary's campaign. How do you see them?
Well, I think that's right. I mean, right now, both campaigns are in large measure running what I call a 50-50 race. This is being borne out by the polls right now. A lot of folks, bristle when I say that. And, oh, no, it's not 50. I'm like, look, at the end of the day, when you consider everything that Donald Trump has said and done for the last 2.5, now 3 months, and even including the debacle, which was the beginning of the convention, the plagiarism of his wife's speech, all of that stuff, sort of the dark nature of it, as a lot of people like to describe the candidate's speech itself, and yet he's leading? Yeah. Latest polls, he's leading.
Well, he's surging one poll. He's +7.
+7?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take worst case scenario. He's tied. Hillary Clinton, again, had a couple of great weeks in the middle of Donald Trump's crazy. Comes out of that, has, I think, despite the hiccups at the convention, has had message-wise a fairly strong convention. And yet she, again, either slightly ahead in some polls, behind in others. She's tied.
But on paper, shouldn't she be way ahead?
On paper, she should be. The problem is people don't like her. They don't trust her. And the problem that Donald Trump has is they don't like a lot of the way he talks about people and the positions he's taken on a number of issues. And quite frankly, they don't know what it all means. So there's this hesitancy with both of these candidates that will get undone in some form or fashion over the next couple of months, where voters will begin to settle as we turn the corner into Labor Day, and they'll begin to make up their mind. I think right now Donald Trump has the advantage. I'm not just saying that as a Republican or as a partisan, just looking objectively at it. I think he has the advantage in this sense. Democrats are talking about a we election. Donald Trump is talking about an I election. In other words, the people are seeing and hearing this notion of, kumbaya, we're together, we're going to get through this. We have the support, we have your back, America, all right? And the people are saying, wait a minute, it's the we people who've gotten us into this trouble. All you we's out there are the ones why we, the people, are frustrated. The I argument, it goes to, I'm going to take charge of this. I'm going to lead us into a better space. I'm going to be the guy you can trust to get this done. That is a stronger message right now. It may change, but it is a stronger message right now than the one Hillary Clinton is positing at this convention.
Anecdotally, my wife was with me here at the convention. We're out at dinner last night, which is a casual dinner, sitting outside, and there's a table of 3 or 4 black guys, and they're talking about it. They're talking about this stuff, and this guy says, I told my mother that I'm going to vote for Trump, and she went crazy.
Yeah.
And he goes on to explain why his big reason was he thinks Hillary Clinton is a liar. And wouldn't you think that a black guy in Philadelphia is a lock for Hillary Clinton?
Well, and that's what a lot of Democrats and even some Republicans are thinking. That's not the reality. The anecdotal evidence out there is a lot stronger than people want to admit, number one. I had conversations with guys at a Walmart, with ladies driving Ubers. It's a cross-section of people out there. And what you walk away with are 2 things. One, they're not as afraid of Donald Trump as you may think they are. A lot of people get his raw, brash, in-your-face message because you know what? That's how they think and that's how they talk themselves. Right. So when they hear him, they're like, yeah, that's how I'd say. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. 2, they look at this election and they hear the vilification. They hear the disdain and the put down of people who are, even thinking about Donald Trump, let alone actually like him and plan to vote for him. And they've just decided, I don't need to tell you. I'll just shut up about it. The gentleman that you were referring to is a good example. He tells his mother, what does his mother do? Jumps all over. Why are you going to know? You can't, they don't want to hear that. They are strong in their belief. They are firming up their conviction about Donald Trump. And they don't want to have time. They don't want to take the time or get engaged in the fight to prove to you why they believe or feel the way they believe, just because you feel and believe the way you do. They don't want to so they just keep their mouth shut.
Barack Obama got 92% of the black vote in 2012, some staggering percentage like that. GOP's always talking about what it's going to do about that. It never seems to happen. Is this the guy that changes it?
I don't know if he's the guy to change it. Look, that's
well, then how does it get changed?
Well, but this is not something that gets changed in one election cycle or with one candidate. And in fact, trying to change that conversation, that narrative with black America at the national level is a joke. It's a waste of time. It is an absolute waste of time because people don't live in the United States of America per se. Where they live
in Philadelphia.
They live in Philadelphia.
In Roxborough.
Thank you. That's where they live. So unless you're engaging them there, you're not reaching them. So all of this national conversation about, we got to engage the black vote is like talking to thin air. I mean, it goes nowhere. Unless you're county chairman, your local central committees, your party activists in Philadelphia, in Pittsburgh, in other parts of, Montgomery County, in other counties and jurisdictions in the state, you're not reaching people.
Is it not true that Hillary Clinton will have to have turnout on a par or close to what Barack Obama had, the Democratic turnout in 2012, in order to win this election?
She will. I mean, and largely because she's seeing a lot of the white vote siphon off by Donald Trump. I mean, in parts of the country, they never thought. I mean, Pennsylvania is now in play for the Republicans. Wisconsin is in play. New York, while we may not win it, look, she's going to have to put resources there so she doesn't lose it outright. You know what I'm saying? So there are these new dynamics that the Democrats never had to think about before that they will in this race. Same is true for Republicans. Places like Florida become very, very important. Ohio is always a battleground. Will be an even bigger one this time around. So you have this tension on both sides for both political operations they have to deal with. How they deal with that, how they message to that, is going to matter more than it ever has.
Last question. do we draw any significance from the fact that Trump had a huge turnout in the primaries,
Right.
and turnout for the Democrats was lower in the primaries? Does that mean anything in the general?
Well, it could. I mean, a lot of that's focused on where the Bernie Sanders voters are, and they, as we saw last night, they walked out en masse in big numbers. They protested at the media center here at the convention. So they're not happy. So this sort of facade of unity has to and ultimately will give way in the general election to the strains and stresses that still exist between Bernie Sanders supporters who are not happy with the vice presidential nominee, Tim Kaine, who are not happy with the deal that was cut by Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, which, as Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia, has made the gaffe. And as we know in Washington, a gaffe is when you mistakenly speak the truth.
Tell the truth, yeah.
About TPP. The first couple of nights of this convention, the anti-TPP signs weren't just concentrated in sections of the hall. They were throughout the hall. So now that you have the nominee of the party, one of her closest friends and allies saying, "Oh well, after the election she's she'll go with the TPP." That says to a lot of those Bernie supporters, "See, I told you." That's going to be a dynamic that they're going to have to confront. I don't think they've been able to confront it well so far. I don't think they'll be able to confront it even better in the fall.
Michael Steele, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Very
you.
Insightful.
Good to be here.